I'm Mitchell Levy, global credibility expert, and we are at one of the most exciting and fun times during the day. And that is to do the show Leaders Living Their Values, where we get to talk to somebody super cool, super amazing. Today is absolutely no exception about who they are and their values and how they live life. And Lisa Cherney, thank you so much for joining us today.
You're very welcome. I'm super excited. I love this topic and I love your approach to it.
Oh, good. So, just so people get a feeling of you, who are you?
Who am I? I am a fully expressed, conscious entrepreneur who is so passionate about helping experts that are still evolving and knowing that their business is like their spiritual path to be also fully expressed and get to help as many people as they want.
Fully expressed, conscious entrepreneurs. We're going to come back to that. So, because I'm still working on grokking those terms. But kind of what you do. Who else are you? Like, what are you? What do you know? Who are you as a
I'm a mom. I'm a mom of a 16-year-old that's applying to colleges, and she's an only, so our minds are blown with like how quickly it all came about. We were just talking about your son and how much he's grown in the last how many ever years, and so I'm a mom, and I'd say that my daughter's willingness to speak her truth and ask for what she wants is like one of my biggest accomplishments. I feel good putting her out in the world, knowing that she could, speak her mind and to adults and authority and all that good stuff. And I just can't imagine what it would be like if I had that growing up, like who I would be today. Although I know that all my experiences were, meant for me and divinely designed to birth me and my work in the world. But so I think that's a big part of who I am as well.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Tell me a little bit more about her.
Oh my goodness. Well, her name is Bella, and we all know what Bella means. And what else about Bella? One of my podcast episodes, so I have a show called the GFR show, Get Effin' Real Show. And you were on my show, and the crux of our show is telling, having people have space to really share their story and how everything that they've been through impacted who they are today. Well, I interviewed my daughter on my show, and that was like one of my like most delicious moments of having that platform, and really just hearing her, like asking her questions like I would any guest, and just allowing her to be whoever she was going to be or is going to be. And that was a really proud moment for me.
That is so cool. What was the highlight of that? What popped out of that you go, that I mean, whenever there's stuff, I can imagine there's something there that she said that you're going to remember the rest of your life.
What was interesting for me was to really cement a parallel between my role as her parent, or the way that I've created my role as her parent, and actually the way that I hold space for my clients. Now, as you know, I call myself an unmentor, because I really believe in the people that I'm working with. Like, they're brilliant experts, and they need someone to hold space for them. They don't need someone to give them advice and tell them what to do and like follow my system and do it this way, or all that. And I feel like my kid needs the same thing. And so when she talked about how our style of parenting, like, that allowed her to go to bed what she wanted and eat what she wanted and all these things, kind of allowed her to find her way, and know what she her preferences and that she's really good at self-care. Like she knows, like if I stay up late, I'm gonna feel like shit the next day. Like these like basic things that I often tell her, like adults are crappy at this. Adults don't know this, and you know it now, and what a gift. And so obviously as she's prepares to go away to college next year, I feel that she's not gonna like, and she said that she's like, I'm not gonna be one of those kids that just goes like crazy, like doing all the things and staying up late and like doing all this crazy stuff, because she's always had the choice to do whatever, however she wanted to express. So that's it was kind of a nice poignant moment to see, like, yeah, this is how I hold space for my clients, and that helps them have self-confidence and helps them remember how awesome they are, and helps them dissolve the imposter syndrome and like all of that stuff, that baggage that weighs down conscious entrepreneurs, and heart-centered entrepreneurs. They get weighed down by sort of like layers of shame that sort of comes on trying things and them not working, or feeling like they've let down mentors and all this kind of stuff. So I could see how the space that I hold for my daughter, and my husband and I hold for my daughter, kind of allows her to not pile on so much of that, and find her own way.
First, congratulations.
Thank you.
I mean, it's not like you reached a point and like, okay, we're here. We're like,
right. She's 16. This is a
lifelong journey.
Yeah.
And by the way, you know this based on having felt your energy and who you are. There's a point in time where you start transitioning from just parent to friend. So mine is now 24, and we still do the parent stuff, but we're mostly the friend stuff now. Although, it's always, I don't know about you and your husband. It's a little bit easier for me to do the friend thing than my wife. So it's just how things work. But I think for me, I also learned it was so valuable who I was as a manager, who I was as a leader, who I was as executive coach changed so much when I realized that the things that I'm supporting, and I like the way you put it always, that the way I was holding space for this, half-year-old, 1-year-old, 2-year-old, and then each step, the way I was holding space is so similar to what I do in my business. Now, so you said when you were interviewing Bella, that's where that popped, or you knew this, you saw it, or it just sort of
I feel like it was like a coalescence that happened in that moment. I always, like, I generally, with everyone in my life, try not to insert myself, and also try to be like the safe, not judgmental person. And that's why people tell me everything. So I've always been that way, but just like talking with her and hearing her share her own opinions and what she really believes in and stands for, what she wants to do and, be with her, in her life, like, and just feeling her self-confidence and like inner peace. Like, it was like, oh, that is what I see after I get to work with my clients in my UnMentor program, which is a one-on-one and group program with me. That's what I get to see with them over time, is like just the way that they show up for each other, and like the way that they begin to be able to tune out the external like voices of what they should do and how it works, and you need to do it this way, and like that they're able to kind of be like, shush, I'm going to do it this way, and I feel like that's what my kid is able to do. And I see it in the way that she is with her peers and with teachers, and even this whole college craziness. I don't know if you went through this with your kid, but just the whole application and the competitiveness, and there's so much build up, and this is like your future. And we just did it a whole different way. But it took her a minute to go, okay, like I don't need to, I really don't need to do it the way they're doing it. We're doing it this way, and this works for us. And um, yeah, so I mean, I think young people as well as, us as entrepreneurs, and really, everyone to some extent has cultural, societal, parental, things that they are sorting through at any given time to really like who is authentically me, which we talk all about, right? And you talk about, right? And it's like, what even does that mean? How do I even know? Which is why I love the conversation around values and, and how that expresses.
Yeah, and what's interesting is I don't actually need to ask you your values when we're talking about how you raised your daughter, right? Because they manifest in the outcome. They manifest in who you are and how you show up. They manifest and I'm kind of curious. So okay, so you had this show with Bella. You had this whether it's an aha moment or just like a recognition type thing. And and then what happens is you start going back to clients. Was there a client that you dealt with differently? Is there something that came out of that you recognize you need to do something different with?
Something that my clients sort of advice, like, oh, I was invited to do this thing, but I don't know if it feel light, does it feel heavy. So I'm not really saying, oh yes, you should do that. It'd be such a good strategic opportunity and people will really love that and it will, did it, I just sort of more of like a reflective surface, that they lean on. And my daughter sometimes, you know, we laugh because sometimes she'll say, "Well, when do you think I should go to bed?" She's just something the next day. Well, I don't know, like what, I don't know what kind, do you want to get, well, how much sleep do you want to get, or like how are you feeling? She's like, "Can you just tell me? Can you just tell me?" And my clients do that too, and now it reminds me more. It reminds me more of Bella, because sometimes they just want to be told, and I get that because, like, gosh, that's sometimes so much easier. But that obviously doesn't help build our muscle of knowing what feels good, knowing what feels aligned, knowing what resonates, what does feel authentic, you know, and we just don't get a lot of practice doing that. We just, right? Like so much of our lives, starting in, if we've been in traditional school, is like we're told when to eat, we're told what to wear, we're told when to get up, like when do we get to even figure out, am I a morning person or a night person, when you're really not given those options. So like those foundational things all the way through to, full expression for me is synonymous with our marketing, right? Is what we say about what we do and how that shows up, in order to attract the people that we want to help. To me, it's congruous. It's like that's all about us, um, being the person that is of service in the way that we want to be.
How do you work with we could skip from Bella, but you could use her as examples as well. When you're working with clients and you're being that servant leader, you're being of service, how do you present a framework when first what is the framework you present to help people when they first come to you to help them be fully expressed? What is that framework you typically share with them?
Well, one of the things that I like to talk about is the concept of your soapbox, which, in the States in the 20s, soap was delivered in these crates and they'd be like left on the streets, soap and milk, and if somebody really wanted to let everyone know something, they would turn the box over, stand on it, and they would, kind of like a barker, they would, share what it is they have to share. And I
Well, by the
believe
way,
that
I'll bet you there are some people who use the word soapbox and never actually knew that before. So thank you for sharing.
and I will say that it is my international clients that called me out and said, we don't know what that is. And so now I always explain that. So I believe that a superpower that we have as an expert, um, as a conscious entrepreneur, a superpower we have is our fire in our belly, like our like bubbled up passion for why we do this crazy entrepreneur thing. Like I feel like it is a superpower that we don't all tap into. Many of us don't tap into it. And so, when people work more closely with me, we look at what is your soapbox? What are the things that you really want to be saying, in your marketing that you're not saying? What is the stand that I know you have because you're a badass at what you do, but it's not coming through your marketing. Like what is it you're not saying? Like, we're both members of the Evolutionary Business Council, and I'm speaking at their annual retreat, and I'm going to be talking about unapologetic marketing. And that's what this is. It is how do we uncover that voice so that we are actually saying the things that we feel fully expressed, that we feel like we're sending out the signals that are going to attract those people that really need us. And so the soapbox, really not figuring it out, but like uncovering it, letting it like come out and have air and like be shining in the world. That I think is a really key thing for a passionate entrepreneur.
Oh, absolutely. And for me, that is what I call the CPOP, your customer point of possibilities. And and by the way, you and I should talk about that because we have a 1 hour course. I'd love to actually have you share that with your clients. And it's being able to, when, regardless of how you call it, what you look at it, if you know who you are and it truly is your soul, and you can express your soul in a way that other people could understand, versus listening to all the marketing people are going to tell you how to express it with marketing cookie cutter terminology. And you don't do that. You shy away from marketing cookie cutter terminology. Why is that?
Because I feel like the thing that makes us the most unique is our own individual voice. So you don't need to try so hard to stand out when you just are more yourself.
It's simple. See, simple. Like we didn't rehearse this, but that's the answer, right? It's, you don't need to, I don't know. This concept called social media. There's the two words, social and media. And so many people, and lots of the marketing people will tell you that, hey, this thing called media means that you should stand up in front of your microphone and shout from the rooftops. But that's not what you're saying. Right? Take it from there. It's all about being social. How can we be? When you work with your clients, how can you encourage them to be more social?
Right before this interview, I was on what I call a UnMentor pod call. So when I work with people in UnMentor, they're in small groups of like 8 or less, and then they work with me one-on-one. So we have these pod family meetings, and one of the gals was saying, that she's feeling almost like clogged up, like she has all this to say, and she isn't getting out there with it because she's really getting to the juice of what she wants to share. So it feels more risky, it feels a little bit more scary. And so when I work with people more closely, I try to just be like, forget the social media plan and forget the content management plan and forget I need to be consistent, post every day at 11:30, forget all of that. Just forget all of that. And block off some time on your calendar, like a lot of time. Like for me, if I want to do a Facebook Live, sometimes I block off 2 hours for a 30-minute Facebook Live because I like to like get my notes ready and like what am I going to say, and like just like have fun like getting ready for it, and then just feeling the ease and whatever it is that you need to do. And I say, just share something, pick one thing, and share it. Don't worry about the call to action, right? This is if you're needing a breakthrough in this area. Don't worry about your call to action. Maybe don't even script it, just, unless you really, really, really need to. Okay, but give yourself some bullets and just do it. It's almost like breaking a dam, it's just like, let's just pop the cherry and let's get flowing here. Because if you feel, like clogged up and you feel like you're not doing your thing, you're not doing your work in the world, you're not fulfilling your purpose, it manifests all kinds of ways, like physical, illness, all kinds of stuff. So I say just pick one small thing, one part of your soapbox, something that you're you don't need a script because you're an expert. You don't need a script. Just pick one thing and talk about it. You can record a video. You could do a Facebook Live. Maybe if you're much more comfortable writing, okay, right. But if you feel like doing video might be a stretch, give yourself that stretch.
It's so interesting. You and I are very similar this way, and I'll believe that you and I can be put up in front of an audience and have the host say, "Oh, by the way, here's your topic," and we would go. Okay, and the reason we go is we have a framework, right? And the framework is ultimately, how do we make sure that we deliver the value? Whether for me it's credibility, for you it's accountability. Like, how do we make sure that we focus on the right area? And I agree with you on that. Is we put so much emphasis on getting it right, as opposed to so much emphasis on letting people see us. And I think that's really what I love about what you're doing. Is very similar to the work that we do, and that's fantastic, because we need to be able to show people us. Being credible is that people see us. If they don't like us, that's okay.
That's okay.
How do you do, I just had a breakthrough session with people, and somebody actually said, I realize that I have to be more of me, but I don't know if I want to be me, because I'll get judged more. And of course we responded to that one. But how do you respond to that?
The judgments that we fear coming from others are judgments that we have of ourselves. So it is the inner work to look at and to say, okay, if I fear I'm going to be judged as flaky, or I'm going to be judged as woo-woo and, loony, or I'm going to be, for sharing whatever, whatever that I would articulate, like, what is it that I fear that people are going to think? And then really being honest and saying, okay, these are things, if I didn't think these things of myself in some way, I would not be worried about what other people think. And getting real with that. And that's where, I didn't say this yet. And the healing that needs to happen along the way, when you are a conscious entrepreneur that's passionate and what you're doing is your work in the world, that is so integrated with who we are and our journey and our personal and spiritual development, that work needs to be done at the same time. We need to look at, why are we not saying the things? Okay, like that. And I'll say to people, I know you want to talk about, your campaign, and we need to talk about why you're fearing doing the campaign. That's the work we need to do right now. And then that will all come when we look at that. Where's that resistance? What is that inner dialogue? Where are we fearing being seen? All that stuff. I mean, I have so many clients that worry about, oh, my mother-in-law is going to see this, or my brother's going to see this, or, they're worried about one person. And then, so they're not saying the things because that one person, which I totally validate, because those people can be really scary. And so that's the work. And then we need to talk about your mother-in-law, not the campaign for your next event. We need to, and so, in UnMentor, I've been doing this 24 years, and in the last 5 years of this work, since I've launched the GFR podcast and everything, I said my work is where the healing meets the entrepreneur, and where the work meets the healing, and then the healing meets the work. Like it is a constant cycle, and that to me is where it's super fun. I mean, it's like, you want to grow spiritually, then you lean into your business where it scares you, and let's look at that. And then you know what, your business will grow and you'll make the money and all that stuff.
Wow, I love that. Yeah, that absolutely beautiful. Hey, listen, if you're watching and listening, I have 3 more questions, so stay tuned. First, Lisa, if people get excited about you, they want to learn more, they want to engage with you, what is the best way for people to reach out?
The best way for people to reach out to me
No, say that 5
directly.
times fast. Come on.
Oh my gosh, I'm excited. I really want to say I want you to reach out. And the best way to reach out to me is probably through Facebook Messenger. Just like if I'm saying, hey, public, or whoever's watching, if you're like, oh my God, Lisa, what you said, I want to hear that. I would love to hear that. And if you want to hear more about like what I'm saying, and more in this context of like our struggle serves our mission and all that, that's what the show is all about. Mitchell's interview is episode 104. You're going to learn things that you did not know about Mitchell. The tagline of our show is confessions and straight talk from soulful entrepreneurs. And so you'll find yourself in any of the interviews. And then there's a lot of shows that are just me talking about different things. So I feel like that's it's a podcast, and some of the episodes are on my YouTube channel. So just look up Get Effing Real. Get F ***ing REAL or my name, and check out the show. Those would be the best ways to like interact with me. Reach out to me direct or listen to the show. And then I'm sure Mitchell will let you know how to get a free resource, which is my GFR commandments. So there's 12 ways that we get in our way. I call it our roadmap for getting real. So that's a fun tool as well.
So based on how this conversation has gone so far, is there a question that I didn't ask that I should have?
Well, what's coming to me, I don't know about the should, but what's coming to me is there's one of the GFR commandments so each commandment has a question.
Oh, you got to ask the question so I could ask my third question, right? So
yes. So tell you what you missed. So I'm going to hold this up to the camera, and I'm going to point out number 3. The commandment is, don't worry about being normal, proper, or polite. And the confession question is, where am I not speaking my truth? Where am I not speaking my truth? That is my favorite commandment for this conversation. And it's such a great question, not just for in our personal life. What am I not saying to my partner, but what am I not saying in my marketing? Where am I not speaking my truth in my marketing or to my clients? It's such an expansive result.
What is it again? It's don't worry about being normal,
proper,
or
polite.
Where were we taught normal, proper, polite?
I mean, usually our family of origin, and then, from their society, and I don't mean polite like be rude to people, I just mean don't always put other people's needs above your own.
I think the reason it sounds like you brought that up because that's part of that judgment thing, right? That's many of the reasons why people will both judge themselves and allow themselves to be judged by others, because somewhere in our upbringing we were taught to be normal, proper, and polite, and we may have been taught wrong, or we may have been taught something that worked at some point in time, at some point of age, that isn't relevant now. And
Yes.
we haven't allowed ourselves to be us yet.
Yes. You know, like as a perfect example is trauma. We hide our trauma. We are embarrassed by our trauma. We're ashamed or whatever we tell ourselves about our trauma. What I know now for sure is trauma is normal. Trauma is normal. And for folks like you and me, and probably many of our listeners that are doing work where we're helping others, I feel like we've all been through trauma in order to get the credential that we need to then help others. So to me, it's brag worthy, which is what my show is all about: bankruptcy and being in jail and like trying to commit suicide, all these things that we, that we hide, which to me are very, very normal. Very, very normal.
Yeah. Oh, what a great place to end the interview. I'm going to say you are normal. Like if you are you and you're living your values, you're normal. Beautiful. Lisa, thank you so much for spending time and energy with us today.
You're welcome. I'm super excited. Thanks for having me.
Oh, of course. Anytime. And listen, if you're still here, this is now time for you to spread some cred dust. Click on the like button, share with your friends, write down that aha moment that you had during this episode. And I look forward to seeing you at the next episode of Leaders Living Their Values. Take care, everyone. Bye now.